A few weeks ago, I was driving in the middle of nowhere, heading to one of my friends. My wife was sleeping next to me, while my teenage daughters were watching a movie in the back. Next to them, my toddler was playing with his toys. It was around 1 a.m., and I was nervous as the drive there seemed to last forever. The dirt road with no lights gave me chills, as all I could see around were only fields. The road had many holes, and I was trying to avoid them as much as I could. I was very focused on that when I saw in front of the car a luggage. It was in the middle of the road, on my side. On the other side, the car was parked, facing us. The car was completely in the dark, as there were no lights inside or outside of it. I did not want to drive over their luggage, so my first instinct was to go out and move it. I was lucky to have my wife with me. She grabbed my hand and indicated me something on the right. One person was in the field, looking sometimes at his phone, reason for which my wife saw him in the first place. I turned my car around, and I was ready to leave this road when two people jumped out in front of us from the field. There was no space on the road, so I couldn't go without harming them. Two people in front of my car, one luggage, a car, and the person checking their phone in the field were behind us. I did not know what to do, so I did the only thing that I thought of. I just turned around again, facing the luggage, and just drove over it. Fortunately, there was nothing inside it to damage my car, so we got out of this situation completely unharmed. We arrived at my friend's house and everything was perfect, and we had a great time there. However, I still have chills when I am thinking about this incident. So, people from the field, I hope we never meet again. This was probably about 10 years back when this happened, and I happened to be driving home from work late at night as I usually do. I take back roads to get home before turning onto the main road, which takes me back to my house. Once I had turned onto the main road, it turns into two lanes on either side of the road for a brief moment. There is nothing on the right side of the road, just trees and a small open field with more trees in the distance, with houses on the left side of the road. The hill slopes down just a little bit before dipping upwards at an incline, so I was at the dip at the moment. I had noticed right after turning about 50 feet in front of my car off to the right side of the road, there looked to be a guy standing there wearing a white hoodie. I wasn't sure what he was doing, thinking he was trying to cross the road, but I couldn't see any other part of him other than the white hoodie. I remember thinking to myself, what the hell is this guy doing? To get a better look, I turned on the high beams to see what he was doing, and as soon as I did, the guy just literally floated super quickly across the other side of the road, and he was nowhere to be seen after that. It didn't look like he was running, as his body remained constant and glided so quickly across the road. It definitely freaked me out a bit, as I'd never seen anything like that before. There was quite literally no trace of this guy at all once he ran across, as if he just disappeared. I know I wasn't imagining it, as I had slowed down, thinking that someone was trying to cross the road. Has anyone had something like this ever happen to them before? I need to preface two things first. English isn't my native language, so if certain parts do not make sense, I am sorry. 2. My interpretation of the event described here is tainted by having escaped two possible kidnappings and one street attack situation. I'll describe these at the end of the story, but they're probably not essential. So, this happened 3 days ago. It was around 11:20 p.m., and I was coming home from a shift. I had my earbuds in because I usually call someone when I walk home at that time. It's a 10-minute walk, by the way. This time, however, I hadn't called anyone yet because I was reading something. I cut through a usually well-lit path at night. During the day, a lot of families come there to rest on the grass and look at the trees. It's like a green space between two short buildings, allowing you to go from one street to another, and you can cross it in under 20 seconds. So I'm doing my thing. Mind you, I walk this path every day, multiple times a day, weekly at night coming home from work, and I've lived here for like 4 years. I had one scare there, though, 2 years ago. I'll detail that later. The lampposts are lighting the concrete path, and there's patches of grass on both sides. Trees are spaced out along the way, and there are a few benches. After 5 seconds, I pass by the first bench and almost slip on what felt like a huge patch of mud, which was very strange because it hadn't rained. So I steady myself, and while I do so, I hear something rustling leaves in the hedges near the fence behind me on my left side. Then, as I started walking again, I heard crunching in the grass with what I recognized as footsteps. Judging by the sound, it was almost likely heavy, not like a squirrel or a cat. I didn't turn around and quicken my pace. I try walking on the edge of the grass after 5 more seconds, and it's dry. 5 seconds after that, I see a patch of tall dirt with tire imprints, like bike tires. So I try walking there, and it's also dry. The concrete was dry too. I get out of there and don't hear any more footsteps. Once I cross the roads and turn towards my street, I call who I am supposed to call to reassure themselves and myself too. Nothing happened, but I'm also thinking I escaped something that could have. The next afternoon, there wasn't anything by the first bench where I had almost slipped the night before. So, what was it? Here are the past situations. Circa 2010. I'm about 10-ish. Looked older, though, because I was developing early. Coming home from a friend's house on a street down from mine. A group of 3 young men, about 20-ish, I would say, insisted I climbed with them in their car. Wouldn't believe I was 10 or take no for an answer. Sped off when I yelled out, "Dad, Mom," and ran away. 2019. I'm 19 and in the subway heading home from theater practice at around 11 p.m. I have baggy, dark, comfy clothes on. I notice 3 guys slightly older starting to stare and talking in hushed voices. My station's there, so I wait until the last moment to sprint out of the doors. Unfortunately, they open back up again when I'm halfway up the stairs. I see them get out and run. I speed up and get out of the station. No security agent inside, and decide to book it for my street. Thankfully, the light is green for me, so I can cross, and I hide in a corner, watching them come out and look around, asking each other, "Can you see her?" I go home safely after that. 2022. I'm about to turn 23 years of age, coming home from a babysitting shift. I cut through the same path as described in the recent event. That night, the lights were off, but I really didn't want to go all day around and risk being exposed for like 20 minutes until I was home instead of the 4 minutes it would take to get home from there. I enter the path and see a man on the phone speaking in our language. I had on a red sweater, and as soon as I passed by him, he switched to another language, and I thought I recognized the word for red. I turned around and he was walking out of the path. I took my sweater off and hid it as best as I could by wrapping in my scarf, still walking. I come to the crosswalk and see a car turning their headlights on and starting its engine down the road. I run across both crosswalks, while they had to drive all the way up the road and make a steep turn. I get near my apartment and hide behind a little walled-off thing we have for our dumpsters. I see a car coming from their direction and slowing down, 2 men looking. They exit our street, so I get inside the building and watch them pass the second time. I then get to my flat, unsure about what just happened.